What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're gonna go over all the need to know team cores that you need for Pokemon champions, and here I'm joined with Slim, the veteran for Pokemon VGC, soon to be champions. What's up?
Man, I'm good. How are you? Appreciate you having me again. Ready to talk some mods. We got a lot of great news in about a week and a half from Champions launch?
Exactly, and not only that, this video is going to help everybody to get, to make the game less intimidating for everybody.
Yeah. Literally, we're just gonna pretty much run through all your need to knows. Like, what are some of the megas? What are the weathers? What are all the pertinent things you need to know getting into this? So that way you don't just, kind of come in, you just get kind of steamrolled, whether you're a returning player, new player, heck, even if you're a veteran, sometimes it's something you forget that hopefully this video will help you kind of kickstart your memory.
Exactly, and I want to get things kicked off with my favorite rain dance, and you can't go wrong with Politoed. Politoed is one of the best rain dance setter or drizzle starters, so basically having a great special defense. Take it away.
Yeah, Politoed is one of the premier rain setters along with things like Pelipper, but one of the things I think that makes it slightly better is just the fact that it does get Perish Strong. And in a lot of niche formats like this, especially with, the decks that we have now, it's not as wide open as we've seen some others. Perish is going to be huge because it's a great end gamer. It's tanky enough to always kind of sit around, cause a lot of havoc with Scald, and it easily pivots in and out, especially with Citrus Berry. So that I think is gonna give it a probably like the rank 1 when it comes to what you want to be your rain setter to be. You need something bulky, it can come in and out, you can pivot a lot, and it can be just like vital utility and end game with Perish Song.
And let's go over the moves, right? So the moves here, the common ones are Scald, Icy Wind, Helping Hand, and Protect for the basic rain setter. And if you want to go a little bit more on the offensive rain, you could go Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, Focus Blast, and Scald, because in the rain, Hydro Pump becomes 100 accuracy, and that moves hits like a truck. And then we have moves like Encore support, where you can use Scald, Encore, Perish Song, and Protect, like Slim was talking about. And then we have a bulky pivot where you could use Scald, Ice Beam, Helping Hand, and Protect. What do you think about that?
I think a lot of the times that's kind of what you're gonna see, because it seems like with what mons we have confirmed right now, dragon typing is going to be very prevalent, so you're always going to need your ice beams. But even something as simple as Icy Wind for speed control, so it gives you that dual, like, hey, I need an ice move, but I also want to not have necessarily maybe Tailwind or something. Icy Wind is going to be great. Protect is always good, even though we did see the PP adjustments, which is going to make a huge impact competitively, because Protect is one of the best moves in VGC, but now that it's max PP cut down to 8, you're gonna have to be a little bit more skillful of where you want to use it. So very good. I'm kind of interested to see how that plays out, but yes, that's a premier moveset you want to go with. And then kind of depends on what your team is. If you do run Perish, of course you throw that on there, but you'll always have Protect. It just depends on what moves you need most on Politoed, so you can use it for a variety of options.
Moving on to one of the best drizzle setters, Rain Dance, is Pelipper. Pelipper has been known to be this bulky offensive bird, and just overall has many utilities, has access to wide guard, has access to Tailwind and the rain. It just makes it so much of a threat. You do have access to Hurricane. Let us know what you think about the Pelipper build.
Yeah, Pelipper is going to be another one of the premier options, just because in a format like this, grass types are also another thing that's prevalent, so you need something with flying moves, and Hurricane is one of the better ones. Pelipper, you can run Sash, or you can run really, really bulky and tanky, and it's enough to live any calculations of any hits you want to take, and then you can kind of like U-turn, or you can Hurricane, you can say Tailwind. It's just something that can really just like give you exactly what you need. Whether you lead it or switch it in, it's like, okay, cool, I know I can just take a hit here, take a hit there, and then save it for later for fodder. So Pelipper almost works in the same capacity as Politoed. It's just like a little slight difference, whereas in Politoed will sit on the field longer, whereas in you want to use Pelipper for more like, okay, I need to take a hit, or I need to immediately set up, Tailwind, and then I can kind of like save it for later. And there is some damp rock variants that you will see to try to keep rain up as long as possible. Doubt it'll be too prevalent just because of how this works, but we'll have to wait and see.
No, exactly. I do agree here. And, more or less, the usage of this damp rock is going to be one of the more useful items applied to this Pokemon. And, it's going to have like moves like Scald, Hurricane, Tailwind, Protect, your standard setter. And then if you want to be more offensive in the rain, you could add, Weather Ball, Hurricane, Scald, U-Turn for that protection with the Choice Spect. Not only that, you could be bulky pivoter, which has the Scald attack, Hurricane, U-turn protect, and more defensive support. You could also do wide guard with the calm nature, drizzle, and citrus berry is so good.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to see how everybody decides to use this, because there's just like an infinite array of like date ways you can use it, and everybody's gonna have their choice of like what they like more. So I prefer I'm a Polito type of person because I like to be able to continuously like be on the field causing havoc and making people forced to switch because of like potential icy wind. So it's gonna be the battle of which rain setter can do more for everybody's individual team. So looking forward to see how that kind of plays out as the season goes on once we actually get into Champions gameplay.
And all I gotta say, Politoad's the GOAT.
I'm just telling you.
Next up, we have Fire Pokemon, which are gonna set up Sunny Day, which are gonna set up the sun. It is called Drought and has the same ability. Again, we are entering the Weather Wars and Mega Evolutions for Champions, which is amazing. And Torkoal coming in with the best defense, right, for us, for our Drought users. And overall has been really good, paired with Venusaur, Charizard, and, just been strong in the meta ever since it's been released. What do you think?
Yeah, there is not a better sunsetter, like legitimately. I know some people would think, oh, Charizard, but that involves you having to Mega. Oh, what about Groudon? Well, that means Groudon has to be a thing. This guy has been the ultimate Punisher in Trick Room, and it can always come in and take a hit. It has a great amount of utility. You have Eject Pack, you have Yawn, you have Overheat, and then the Eject Pack out. So there's so many different ways you can apply Torkoal to your team. It is by far always the number one setter and will constantly be a thing, especially Trick Room is something where it's a knowledge check. You have to know how to play against it. If you don't know how to play against Torkoal, you don't know how to play against Trick Room, you will just lose.
Exactly. And, more or less, coming here with the movesets, you have the standard Sunsetter, you have Eruption, Heat Wave, Earth Power, Protect with the Charcoal just boosting up Torkoal's attack, which is insane. We have it as a Trick Room lead, with Eruption, Heat Wave, Yawn, and Protect, just like you mentioned. We have a Bulky Sun variant with Heat Wave, John, and Will-O-Wisp and Protect. And not only that, there's a Choice Spect, Eruption, Heat Wave, Earth Power, and Solar Beam. The fact that it gets access to Grass type is kind of insane.
And I think one of the things that a lot of people need to also think about when it comes to this, we'll go over it later coming up, but it has a good amount of Trick Room setters for it. So I think this is like immediately one of those turn one type teams. Like, one of your first couple rounds of the tournament, you're gonna run into a Trick Room team, and you know what's gonna have? It's gonna have Torkoal. That's how prevalent. There's a lot of sweepers and a lot of great Trick Room setters so far that's been revealed coming up in Champions.
Exactly. And with that, I do want to move on to the next, which we have an OG Sunsetter. It is a Ninetales. Ninetales has been out there with nice speed and nice attack, and just overall has been a pretty solid Pokemon in the Sun. What do you have to say about this one?
Yeah, Ninetales is something I think that's like really balanced when it comes to the Sun. It's great setter and has a high special attack, and it's something more of like a glass cannon, but it's really gonna be one of those kind of hyper offensive mons. Like, hey, turn one, I'm leading Ninetales, or I'm gonna swap in Ninetales and I'm heat waving, or just like I'm speed checking. Like, if you don't have anything off lead that's like as fast, I can come and immediately start spamming damage at you. So doesn't have as much utility as some of the other fire types because it doesn't have the sustainability, but really good offensively to put on a lot of pressure and could be, a sweeper if like, oh, you got rid of the faster mods and you don't have anything left, then you can just potentially sweep with Ninetales alone.
Facts, and overall, like, has access to a lot of good moves here. The abilities, Flash Fire and Drought, but we're always using Drought because, you always want to summon the sun. And then we have our usage, right? You have a Sunsetter, whereas Timid, you want it fast. You have Heat Wave, Solar Beam, a Will-O-Wisp, and Protect with the item Heat Rock. You do have, the other versions where you could be a little bit more aggressive with Heat Wave, Solar Beam, Overheat, and Psychic if you really wanted to. We have a bulky Sun with Heat Wave, Will-O-Wisp, Sunny Day, and Protect because we're going to be entering Weather Wars, and people are going to be swapping out in and out Pokemon. So Sunny Day is going to allow you to steal back that priority weather, whether if they put Politoed or any other weather setting Pokemon. We have Encore leads to trap people into fake outs as well. So Ninetales is out there.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to see how this one gets played.
Of course, of course. And next up, we do have the GOAT himself, Charizard, but we are not looking at Charizard himself. We're looking at Mega Charizard. Why? Yes, we just Mega Evolved them on the screen. I don't know, I heard a sigh from you.
Yeah, yeah. Me and Charizard, I've had some battles with Charizard. Me and Charizard not on the best terms. I'm more of a Charizard X user, but Charizard Y is good, and it's good for a reason. The amazing special attack and be able to set its own sun is not to be trifled with. Um, I was bringing back some memories talking about this because me and my friends used to mess around, and there was a team, and we called it the Oven, you know, because we had at the time Gothitelle. Of course, anybody knows Gothitelle. It has Shadow Tag, so you're immediately like, oh, I'm gonna Mega first turn. I'm going to have Gothitelle right there, and I'm turning on the sun. And I'm spamming Heat Wave. You're trapped in the oven, so unless you can find a way to shut this off, you just cook anybody. It is the quintessential Sun hyper offensive team. Like, hey, what are you gonna do about this? If you can't stop this, then you're just gonna get absolutely nuked. And so there's a couple times I've run into Zard, so I just do know how strong it is. Very much so. Like, doesn't really like to take hits well. And rock slide is something that I know is going to be prevalent because we're going to talk about another type of weather coming up soon. But Charizard is still Charizard, one of the few top megas there is. It will always find a way to be good. Doesn't necessarily always win championships, but it will always get you very, very high into a tournament setting.
Most definitely, but put some respect on my GOAT's name. But
He's good. He's good. He's good.
we have the Mega Y sweeper. It's definitely gonna have the drought ability, so you could steal back the sun, the weather war. You have heat wave, solar beam, overheat, and protect. We could do a mega physical, but I'm not sure why anybody would do that because you want to abuse
Yeah.
the special attack. Um, but there is a bulkier version if for whatever reason you want to set it up as a Tailwind user. You could use Tailwind, Solar Beam, Heat Wave, and Protect. There are interesting uses for this, but I feel like having it as its sweeper is better and it plays well for its special attack.
Yeah, definitely. And even if like you don't necessarily get to use it as a sweeper, just kind of bring it in on entry in that mid game where you're just like, okay, cool, I got it in a good position. I can just do a lot of damage. Sometimes a lot of people feel like, oh, I have to keep my mega like alive. And sometimes it's like, hey, if your mega can like put everything at just enough KO range, it's kind of done its job. And Zard's definitely one of those where sometimes it won't pick up the KO, but taking a sun move in the sun and it doing like 70-80%, that's enough where you should be able to clean up with the rest of your mons in the back. So sometimes Zard is definitely one of those where it's like, hey, I'm going to output as much damage as possible so that way you can't just pivot in and out. And Zard is really, really exceptional at doing just that.
Exactly, I do agree with that. And let's move on to the next tier. We're looking into the sand teams. So sand is gonna have sandstorm, and this ability is really good too, because just like hailstorm, it does give your opponent damage if they're not suited for that weather condition. And overall, Hippodon is insane, has been a menace for sand teams since Generation 4. Coming in with its best defensive stats over here with a base stat of 118. It's kind of insane. I'm gonna let you take it away.
Our man Hippo. Listen, our man Hippo does a lot of great things. Not only can it set up sand, also has yawn, also has curse. So you kind of can do the math. I continue to just like get slower, so that's something I can use in Trick Room, and I get beefier, and I sit here and I yawn spam. It is just a lot of people sleep on how good Hippowdon can really be. Like you put a little barrier, some leftovers on it, it just sits here forever, and it's so hard to take down. One of my favorite archetypes when it comes to weather is Japan Sand. That is, we'll talk about it just in a few minutes, but this is one of those adaptations that I do like if you're not running the OG Sand setter, which is we'll go over soon. But Hippowdon, I think, is very slept on. Yawn and being able to just kind of curse up and just continue to hit physical moves is something that you can't sleep on. Sustainability is absolutely beautiful in this mod because I can just slack off a lot of this damage. So I think a lot of people need to pay attention when they're building, because if you don't have something to kind of like put this in check, it will be something that will cause you a lot of issues.
Yeah, without a doubt. And just overall, like Hippodon is insanely strong, and having it as a quick sand wall over here with Earthquake, Rock Slide, Yawn, and Protect. If you're not abusing sleep in Pokemon, I don't know what you're doing, because in Pokemon
Yeah.
Pocket we have Swablu, Sleep, and we have Igglybuff Sleep for free, and it's changing the meta over there. So I'm pretty sure in Champions, Sleep could, apply that same pressure. Um, we have an offensive build. We have Earthquake, Rock Slide, Ice Fang, and Body Press. Again, defense being his best, stat too, or his size for Body Press. So it's pretty good. And just overall, it could be a Trick Room attacker as well, having Earthquake, Rock Slide, Ice Fang, and Protect. Moving on to one of the unique ones in the sand is Sandaconda. So it definitely does have a good defense, and overall, it's pretty strong. What do you think about this?
Anaconda is definitely something that it's more of the niche sand setter out of all the other ones because it does have sand spit, so you do need to get hit. So, but it's an easy target, an easy way to set up sand. It's not as good without, of course, its Gmax in the prior years because we don't know if that's ever gonna come back. I hope not. But I mean, we just wanted to make sure there's enough here where it's like, oh, if you see this on a team sheet, you kind of understand how it works. Like they have to switch in or get hit with a move for the sand to go up. I mean, like I said, it's a very niche one, but it's one of those things you want to cover just to make sure somebody's like remembering how it works.
Nah, yeah, definitely. And overall, the ability we have it in this category for the simple reason, sand spit. So basically, when it gets hit, the Pokemon creates a sandstorm. So this could be very apply a lot of pressure if you're in a weather war, because like in this situation, it just creates pressure on your opponent not to hit it, and it could get away, doing crazy moves or setting up while attacking, because your other Pokemon benefit heavily in the sand, and then you could use movesets like Earthquake, Rock Slide, Coil, and Protect as well with it. You want to be a physical attacker, you could do that. Earthquake, Rock Slide, Iron Head, Protect. If you want to put this in Trick Room, you could definitely do that as well because it is super slow. Have an Assault Vest with it, Earthquake, Rock Slide, Iron Head, and a Body Press. But we can't talk about Sand without the OG out of all
Yeah.
of them. We gotta talk about one of the best Pokemon created, Tyranitar. Go.
This just the way same way Charizard is your guy, this is my guy. Me and Tyranitar go back like a Cadillac and Ford Flats. I've been using him since I got into VGC. For me, one of the best. You get a buff in Sand, so I can set up easily. Hits with Rock Slide, has Dark type coverage. It's Tyranitar is everything. Tyranitar is one of those things that's always been there from the beginning to the end. It's one of the best Pokemon out there. You can't go wrong. This is what you're gonna see in OG. This and his best friend. This is like Kobe and Shaq. This is LeBron and D Wade. Excadrill, T-Tar win championships. Simple as that. This is what you're gonna see, and this is, I think, one of the premier. I check automatically, like, oh, Mega Gardevoir is something that's gonna be in the format. I can handle that because I can set up. I just have Sand up. I can take an attack. I can Dragon Dance. Charizard Y does not want to see me coming at all. I can pair this with a Garchomp. Like, this is the Shaquille O'Neal. As long as you got a good guard, it will take you as far as you let it.
No, facts. I do agree with that. And overall, it also does get a Mega Evolution. Do you want to speak on that real quick?
Yeah, definitely Mega T-Tar is probably one of those things. Like, the way you use T-Tar is very, very different than a lot of normal, like, Megas, because you want to kind of wait until you get a moment to just like, oh, let me just kind of, I'm going to abuse the Sand and just see wherever you can get like one setup in, maybe under Tailwind, or maybe you have a position where it's like, okay, you won't really take that much damage and you get a Dragon Dance. That's when you want a Mega. So it's one of those things you have to play very differently than your normal Mega, but it's an amazing Pokemon. Like, there's nothing you don't have that you don't need. And plus, listen, when there's a way, if there's a Rock Slide, there's a way. I need everybody to remember that. Where there's a Rock Slide, there's a way. Because sometimes that'll be your win con. You can flinch all the way to victory, and you shouldn't feel any way about it because that's what it's meant to do.
Exactly, I do agree with all of that. But going back into the base form, let's talk about its regular Sand setter. You know, you could have the Soap Vest, Rock Slide, Crunchyroll, Crunch, Ice Punch, Low Kick. Then you have Rock Slide, Crunch, Earthquake, Fire Punch. You got the weakness policy build with Rock Slide, Crunch, Ice Punch, and Protect. It has a lot of coverage. And then we have the Mega variant over here, you know, being hyper offensive with Dragon Dance, Rock Slide, Crunch, and Protect. So there's many ways that you could definitely build this thing.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I know a lot of people are going to be weary of a Mega that you kind of want to pivot in and out a lot of times. So I do normally think a lot of the time the Assault Vest version is probably the best. You get the coverage you need, you get the Sand you need, and you kind of let everyone else kind of do the damage while T-Tar is the utility just to make sure you get the coverage, you get the Sand up constantly. So I do see, I think Tyranitar will be not necessarily a premier Mega just because of like how you want to use it a lot of the time, but it's overall just one of the better Pokemon. It's really fantastic.
Exactly, I do agree with that. But it's time we move into the snow because snow warning, bringing in the hail. This is where we're at right now. And let's talk about Alolan Ninetales with the crazy speed and
Yeah,
nice special defense.
Alolan Ninetales, already, like you said, the special defense. What makes Snow even better than it was before is Mons in the snow actually get a defense buff. So you get to tank a lot more hits than you did before. And Alolan Ninetales is one of the premier, if anybody has played Scarlet and Violet, it has been around. It sets screens. It has Icy Wind. Of course, you have that fairy typing, so you do have Dazzling Gleam. You have Blizzard. You have Moonblast. So you have an ample amount of coverage and support at the same time. Light Clay is going to be one of your friends if you're going to run the screens version, just because it allows you to extend. So even if when snow is potentially gone, okay, your screens are still up and you can pivot out and just come back and reset again to set up again. So little plays a little differently than the original Kanto Ninetales, just because that one's more offensive. This one's more like, hey, I'm gonna set up. You can do damage. It won't be a lot. It won't be significant, but you pretty much gonna get exactly what you need. You want a fairy move. You want either Blizzard or you want Speed Control and Icy Wind, and then you set whatever screen you need.
Exactly. And overall, you want to play this thing just because of snow warning, just like its counterpart, Cantonian version, has the sunny day drought. And you could even use Aurora Veil, which is definitely the best way to use this. Have the
For sure.
defense all the way up with the light clay extending the veil for very long. And then you got Blizzards, Moonblast, and Protect. An offensive version could just go for Blizzard, Moonblast, Freeze Dry, and Protect. If you want to be more supportive too, Icy Wind to slow down your opponent's Pokemon, Speed Stat, Moonblast, Aurora Veil, and Protect as well.
Yeah, it's really a great mod. You can pair it with a lot of things because you don't even have to necessarily, because snow is not like hail where it takes that chip damage away from all mods now. It fits in so many different compositions because even something like a balanced team, you see Ninetales on because they want that Aurora Veil, they want that speed control, they want that fairy typing. So this is one of the more flexible Pokemon that you'll see in the format.
Exactly. And, moving on, we do have Frostlass, right? And we're not just talking about Frostlass here, because we just got revealed in the trailer, well, at PAX as well, that Mega Frostlass here is going to get the ability Snow Warning, and not only that, it's going to have an insane special attack stat of 140 and 120 base speed. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the random, just like everybody was kind of like, wait, what? We get to do who? Like being able to have something like Frostlass, because Frostlass is great offensively. Ice moves are fantastic, ghost moves are fantastic, but you kind of never really could like find a reason to fit it in. It was just super difficult. But now you kind of can easily make that happen. Immediately megaing, setting up a snow warning, and immediately just like, cool, I get to either spam Shadow Ball or something, or I can spam Blizzard. And of course, that's probably one of, out of all the ones to be afraid of. I think Blizzard is probably the scariest one because remember, freeze mechanics are not your friend. So if you get frozen, there's only, I believe, what, 10 or 20% chance for you to thaw, and if not, you're potentially a sitting duck. So a lot of people are looking forward to Mega Frostlass. I don't think it'll be a premier one, but it's definitely something you're gonna have to be able to understand. Like, how do I beat this in a lead? You know, because if not, Blizzard spam will take you down, just like kind of the way Charizard spams Heat Wave. So you got to make sure you're ready to able to take all that damage.
Exactly, and that being said, we do have the usage, how potentially it'll be a little bit of a sweeper because you do want to take advantage of its special attack here. You do have Shadow Ball, great ghost coverage, Ice Beam, Ice of course, Thunderbolt because electric is always good to have, and then Protect because its stats for defense are not that great, but special defense is okay. So yeah, overall, this is the way that you guys want to use them.
Yeah, absolutely. Very niche, but very, very strong if you can get it in a proper position with the amount of support. So I'm looking forward to see what potential some people can cook up.
Exactly. And then next up we have here is Obama Snow. So Obama Snow is basically, I want to say, the Hippodon of the ice hail setters. Take it away here.
Yeah, my boy, telling you, Obeezy's great. You do have that dual typing. You do have grass, which is really nice. So those pesky water types, you can hit them for good amount of damage. Blizzard is something, and this is also something that it kind of can. It's very beefy, so it can take a lot of hits and being able to constantly cause a lot of issues. You do have a lot of good enough support moves where I do think if you are going to run this, if it's not going to be Ninetales, Obeezy's definitely kind of something you can splash in a lot of places because it again, you've seen it without necessarily snow teams. You've seen it in balances because you want something slow, something that can pivot, and we want that bulk, and that's what balance is all about. So there's a lot of utility here for Obama Snow. So I'm looking forward to see how people use it. I think it'll be probably like more like a tier B because if you are gonna go snow, then you're probably just gonna run with Ninetales just because you can just like splash it pretty much anywhere. Not necessarily Obama Snow, but it's still a very, very good mod, and I think a lot of people should consider it for their teams.
Not only that, let's talk about its Mega Evolution since it's here.
Yeah. Look how the stats just immediately change. It goes from something that's kind of middling to actually having like a ton of attacking power. That speed going lower does help in trick room situations. So I do think Mega Obama still can be a thing, and it's kind of works in for me. I kind of see it as like T-Tar. When I get opportunities to, that's when I want to mega. If not, I can just kind of have it do what I need to do. Where it's like, okay, keep just sitting here stalling, being bulky, being a nuisance, and then if I have the opportunity to just go ahead and get off big chunks of damage and blizzards, that's when you want to click that mega button.
Facts. And going into the move sets for here, so this is more super hyper offensive here. We do have Blizzard, Wood Hammer, Ice Shard, and Protect. We have a mixed attacker with the, I mean, we have a mixed version with Blizzard, Giga Drain, Ice Shard, and Protect as well. If we go back into the base form, you know, it has access to Aurora Veil, which is great for defense, has Energy Ball, Blizzard, and Protect.
I think this is one of those things where it's like a lot of people will sleep on it, but then in theory, once people start using it, you will understand that it's actually pretty good. It's really like the slower weathers are always going to be really nice because your weather is the one that's going to be set. So even though a lot of people will try to make, let's say Pelipper pretty slow, there's only a certain amount of speed you're willing to sacrifice. So Obama being naturally slower than most, I think only thing it's slower than is what Torkoal. It's something that you always guarantee. All right, my weather will be the one being here. So I think a lot of people will potentially use this even on like balanced teams, just because like, hey, I can control it, and then I can potentially just like spam water grass moves, or I can spam ice moves, and you kind of put your opponent in a really weird spot because what do they you want to switch in T-Tar into grass move or water move? No, like so I do think this is something we'll get a fair bit of play.
Exactly. And now this wouldn't be a good team core building guide if we didn't have the GOAT himself in Cineroar. In even though it loses knockoff, people forget how dominant this Pokemon was during the Sun and Moon era when it didn't have the knockoff attack. Just overall one of the best intimidators out there. And yeah, let us know, what do you think about this?
Yeah, there's no format where Instant exists. It is not the premier and best intimidator. Like
Yeah, nah.
Instant, regardless, losing knockoff still has fake out, which is one of the best moves, and immediately having parting shot still makes it one of the premier outstanding usage mons because I can pivot in and out. I can have U-turn. I can have assault vest. I can have a berry. It has just enough bulk to really tank any hit. And of course, intimidate with all these physical attackers is going to be huge. It can take any special hit. Like it immediately outclassed even Landorus as the best intimidator because of the flexibility and how you can use it in so many different ways. So there's no format where Incineroar is in that it is not one of the premier mons on a team. Period.
Exactly. And not only that, the usage for Pokemon champions is going to be a little bit different, meaning no knockoff, but that's nothing, right? We do have Intimidate supports where we have Flare Blitz, Darkest Lariat, Fake Out Protect. We have an Assault Vest variant with Blitz, Darkest Lariat, Fake Out U-Turn, because U-Turn is going to allow you to, pull back out and then use Intimidate again later. We do have Partner Shot. Partner Shot is definitely amazing because just like U-Turn, you get to additionally lower special attack as well as regular attack and return. So overall, these are going to be the best ways to run Incineroar in Pokemon Champions.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to think just because it lost knockoff, it is still not number one. I promise you, it is because even when at times you didn't have knockoff, it still was the best. Like knockoff being, I mean, knockoff was great because you just get to like, oh, there's a berry here, I knock it off, but it will still be top usage regardless. It can just do too much. So don't sleep on this mon because you can easily run fake out Willow. blitz or not even run a fire move if there's a lot of rain. Because I expect we've had in formats where Ensign has been and there's a lot of rain, and you just don't run flare blitz. You run everything else, and it's perfectly fine.
Exactly. Now, that being said, there's another GOAT here. And we're going to talk about Arcanine. The reason why this is the GOAT in the beginning of every game. Whatever game,
Man.
this Pokemon is introduced to the VGC meta as a premier Mon and a premier Intimidator. Has the most balanced stats out here. Overall, it's something I would call all reliable.
Oh yeah, it is the best boy, and it's unfortunate that it's no longer the premier intimidator. But that doesn't mean it can't be used. Just because in formats like this, you tend to see a different way people tend to use it. So it'll be more of like, okay, cool. I'm just coming in with like choice band under Tailwind, and I'm going to absolutely annihilate things. And that's what I do see potentially happening here for Arcanine. Immediately, you have enough speed, and under Tailwind, cool. Close combat, Flare Blitz. You get, I believe it has a Thunder move. I believe it's, I forgot which lightning move it has. Like
Thunder Fang.
It really has everything. Yep, Thunder Fang. So every kind of move you need, and of course, Choice Band Extreme Speed, I think is gonna be huge. So don't sleep on that.
Exactly, and just overall, this Pokemon is super strong. It could be an Intimidate supporter, where Flare Blitz, Extreme Speed, Will-O-Wisp, and Protect. It could just be all-out attacker, Extreme Speed, Close Combat, Crunch, and Flare Blitz. It could be a bulky Will-O-Wisp user with Morning Sun, grabbing leftover healing as well. It could be a Scarfed Flare Blitz, Close Combat, Wild Charge, and Extreme Speed. Maybe Wild Charge was the one that you were talking about.
Yeah, there it is. Wild Charge. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and overall, it's super strong.
I do think a lot of people potentially will think it's not going to be good, but no, this is a mon that will always find a way to be good. And of course, in the utility version of that, it's not going to be as great because Ensign did kind of take its job, but it can still be something that you use if you don't necessarily want to use Ensign. It still can be used for a lot of offensive pressure and a lot of damage, which Ensign can't do.
Exactly. All right, we have Hatterene right now. We're heading into the Trick Room setters. You can't talk about Trick Room when it comes. You can't bring up Trick Room without Hatterene. Take it away.
Hatterene has always, since it got introduced, has been one of the best fairy types and psychic types, being able to spam a ton of damage. Mystical Fire, Expanding Force, and of course having access to fairy moves. So this is one of the immediate, like, not only Trick Room sweepers, but Trick Room setters as well, with things like Amoonguss or an Indeedee to follow me.
Exactly, and this Pokemon right now, it's always been the best Trick Room setter, and having access to Trick Room, Dazzling Gleam, Psychic, and Protect. You could do a Life Orb where it's Trick Room, Dazzling Gleam, Mystic Fire, and Protect. Trick Room, Dazzling Gleam, and Psychic and Healing Wish is super strong as well. Overall, a super solid pick. Another Trick Room setter that we want to talk about is Klefki. Klefki, overall, made to be one of the best support Pokemons out there. What do you think about this?
Yeah, really big on Klefki, because if anybody knows their history, Klefki's always been finding a way because of the prankster ability, which so far is going to be huge in this first season or first iteration, because we have a lot of prankster mons and they're able to get up screens or set up tailwinds. But Klefki's always been something is kind of annoying. The typing is really nice. You normally don't want to pair it with you want to pair it with something offensive, I mean, because it can really sit there and disrupt and do a lot. You're not really gonna see offensive moves on it, but it is gonna be really prevalent, I think, in the meta. One of the best players in the world, Lara, is known for running this constantly, so I do think we're gonna see quite a bit of it.
Exactly, and then the moves that we could definitely use as a prankster support. You could definitely use moves like T-Wave, Reflect, Light Screen, and then add, what do you call it, Trick Room into that. There's just so many moves this Pokemon gets access to, and overall, you could just like use any combinations of this and just combine it with its prankster ability.
Looking forward to see what kind of nonsense this will do. And of course, if anybody doesn't know, T Wave is another thing that it's known for, so please be mindful of that. I don't know if we will see any kind of swagger type of combinations just yet. I mean, you could, but you know, just something to watch out for. It's got a lot of tricks up its sleeve.
And we can't talk about a video without Sinisuch. I hope I didn't mispronounce that, but this Pokemon is going to be a very, very strong Trick Room setter as well.
Sinister, I think, is probably going to be something that's kind of used quite a bit just because of how it works. Being able to have the hospitality come in and immediately boost 25% of like some HP of lost HP. So I can see that with like a Kangaskhan or something like that. It's actually really, really nice. And having Matcha Gacha, which is an amazing move, by the way, because you not only do you hit both targets, you have the ability to also potentially burn. So that's something I do see getting a lot of potential play here because it's just great support and it can immediately cripple a physical team. And being able to just like restore 25% of your health is huge. Imagine you go for a Dragon Dance on your T-Tar and then you come in, boom, I get 25% of my health back because of, I had to take a turn to set up. Just like that, you know what? I have enough health. Let's mega my T-Tar, and now I can start really do a lot of crippling damage. So I do think this is going to be very, very heavily used into the meta because it can sit there and tank and cause a lot of havoc for people.
Yeah, overall, it's pretty nasty, and having access to like a Trick Room move, it has the Matcha Gacha, Shadow Ball, Trick Room, and Protect. We got Calm Mind. It could be a little bit of a threat here with Matcha Gacha, Shadow Ball, and Protect. We could give it a choice specs and make it quicker with adding Energy Ball and Side Shock. And if you want to be more supportive, you could do Matcha, Gacha, Shadow Ball, Energy Ball, and Trick Room. It's kind of crazy. Or you could just go overall all support, Helping Hand, Trick Room, Protect, and Matcha Gacha.
There's so many different ways you can kind of use this that it's really just up to you and what your team needs. So I'm looking forward to it because I do think this is probably like if you want to rank when it comes to Trick Room setters, besides Hatterene, this is right there with Hatterene. That is that high S tier type of mon.
And we want to talk about the GOATs of the past. It is Mimikyu, so strong. And it could set up good Trick Room. The fact that it could take a hit while setting up Trick Room is amazing. Take it away.
Yeah, Mimikyu is one of those things I always like. I really loved its inception when it first came in Alola because it was something that you just never kind of seen before. You basically get a free substitute. So this is something that offensively, physically can do quite a bit. Having the fairy type, have the ghost type with Shadow Claw, has a high ability to crit, have play rough. So this is something like ability is nice because you do get to take just one random hit. But another thing you do have to like really just look at and just be like, okay, I kind of enjoy this. It's like it has a good array and can be used in multiple different ways. Now, will it be a potential sweeper? Probably not because it's a little too fast, but just not slow enough. But it's something I do see being a very niche that somebody can use in combination with a Hatterene just to kind of like alleviate some pressure and just give a new look to the way Trick Room is set up.
Nah, exactly. And overall, Mimikyu is just solid in general. Having access to moves like Play Rough as well is kind of insane. Yeah. And right here, as a Trick Room setter, you definitely have access to Trick Room, Shadow Claw, Play Rough, and Protect. We have Sword Dance, Shadow Claw, Play Rough, and Protect. This is if you want to give it low speed and then just set it up as an attacker as well. There's multiple ways to do this. You could do a Focus Sash lead with Shadow Sneak, Play Rough, Trick Room, and Protect. So, many variants to this Mimikyu.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how this is played. I think maybe early meta, it'll be something that you'll see kind of sprinkled around. Going late into the meta, just because it is very hard to kind of find that distinct placement for it. It maybe will fall to the lower ranks, but initial day one, first couple weeks, I think a lot of people will try to use it, but then eventually it'll fall to the wayside. But it's just something to kind of throw out there because it does give a different look to people, and you can potentially get somebody that's really creative with the team building and find a really nice, unique niche for Mimikyu on the team.
Nah, exactly. And let's move on to uh I cannot pronounce this name. I'm gonna let you just go for it.
Farafarig, it doesn't matter because this little guy, one of the best. I mean, if you haven't seen the things it's been able to do, then I think you have not been paying enough to VGC. This is probably, I mean, besides a Porygon 2, which I don't think we've confirmed is in the meta. If Porygon 2 is not here, this immediately is number one. Immediately is number one. Like, there's not even a debate about it. Hatterene, as much as I love it, it can't do what this does. Being able to stop priority, being able to just like, oh, I can apply throat spray and then boost my own damage. There's nothing like it. Like being able to shut down one of the best moves in the game and fake out. Yeah, it just it's not broken, but my God, it's strong.
Yeah, no, overall, the way you want to use this thing is with Trick Room. You got Hyper Voice, Psychic, Trick Room, and, Protect. In the VGC world, it has been super dominant in that way. You could be a Nasty Plotter and just be super slow on its own and, Nasty Plot and have somebody else like a Hatterene or something use Trick Room, and it could be a super sweeper here too. So, overall, one of the best Trick Room setters in the game with
Yeah,
Hatterene.
I do think this is one of those few moments where it's like you actually see the slight hurt. If you were ever gonna think like, oh my gosh, like instant loss knockoff, instant loss knockoff is important for something like this. This and Porygon 2, because that is Instin's way of doing significant damage and putting them like, oh, I don't necessarily want to sit in front of this Instant. Now that they don't have knockoff anymore, that's where it becomes like super prevalent because of mods like this. Now they can kind of sit freely. I don't have to lose my item. I mean, of course, T-Tar and some other things are here, but like you can kind of mitigate that damage with an Intimidate from your own instant or an Arcanine. So there's other subtle ways to get around that. But this is the biggest winner of like instant losing knockoff, being able to keep its berry or its throat spray and potentially keep that safety goggles away from things like a Mungus or the sleep powder from Venu. So I do think this is a very prevalent thing when it comes to this mon. But if this mon was already strong, if you've been paying attention to VGC, like I said earlier, so you know how strong it is. And I think right now it is probably, I mean, it's this and Hatterene just fighting for the number one Trick Room setter as of now.
Exactly. But moving on over here, we have Vivillon. This thing could also set up Trick Room. Let us know your thoughts on this.
Yeah, Pavilion is very interesting because of compound eyes and it has shield dust. So there's a lot of different ways you can kind of like use it, and it's gonna be very interesting because if we do find out that it is open team sheet, then at least you'll know what to be prepping for in your matchup at team preview. If there is closed team sheet, that's when things get weird because it also gets Tailwind. So that's a thing a lot of people have to worry about. Also, if I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it does have Rage Powder and it does have Sleep Powder. So you have a lot of like, oh, this can get really tricky and spiral potentially really fast if you don't necessarily know what type of pavilion this is you're facing.
Exactly. And at that moment, too, is always like dangerous to go in guessing. But anyways, you could do Sleep Powder, Hurricane, Bug Buzz, Protect. And then afterwards, set up Tailwind with this thing because it's kind of crazy how like, there's many different ways you could set this thing up. Tailwind and Trick Room, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
there's just ample amounts of like different ways you can run this thing. I mean, it's been a while since we've had a meta where tail room teams are a thing, but I think this is one of the few metas you might just see the return of tail room teams where everybody's gonna be kind of eving their teams to be kind of in the middle, just so if like somebody's slightly faster than you, you can just go ahead and even though you have technically fast mons, they'll work against your opponent because they have just enough like underspeeding to be in Trick Room. But if you set up Tailwind, you'll outspeed just enough where you can outspeed. So those mind games are going to be very prevalent coming up, and I'm looking forward to see like what's going to be the kind of like star thing. Is it more going to be balanced that you can play in both, or are people going to try to apply the I'll Trick Room this turn, and then when I get out of it, I have two mons in the back that can just Tailwind, and then we continue to keep on the onslaught.
No, exactly. And overall, we are talking about Tailwind, so let's actually set up all the way to the Whimsicott. Like, Tailwind Whimsicott has been the oldest VGC strategy in a while, so let's go, take it away.
Yeah, this is gonna be like it's one of the best prankster mons. Just having just it's so fast. You can hit something with Moonblast, and you can always take one attack. So you can always be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna stagger my Tailwind turn. I'm gonna attack this turn. Then next turn, right when I'm about to go down, boom, priority Tailwind. So you're gonna get a lot of value here. And even just turn one, a lot of people will key in on the Whimsicott. There's a lot of turns way back in the day where it's like, I just can't handle this, and immediately a Whimsicott will click protect, and you blow a whole turn just trying to double target and finish it, and it puts you at such a disadvantage. So Whimsicott, I think, this is another amazing prevalent meta. This is one of those things that can do the tail room. It can do both. Get you something that can do both, and this is one of them. So you have a lot of offensive power just because Moonblast always hurts. You do have Energy Ball. Both of them are stab, and you can kind of like play around with it any set you want. Covert Cloak is a thing now. It can stop fake out. You have Focus Sash, which has always been the premier item because you can always guarantee yourself 2 turns. So a lot of application for Whimsicott in this meta so far, seeing all the mods that have been introduced.
Nah, exactly. And then afterwards, the prankster is just overall one of the best things. And having it as a Tailwind, a lead, having Tailwind, Moonblast, Fairy coverage, Encore, Protect is one of the best ways to run it. If you want to be offensive for whatever reason, you do have access to Moonblast, Energy, Tailwind, and Protect. As you notice, everything is going to be with Tailwind because this thing is insane with making all your Pokemon fast.
Oh my gosh, I can't really wait to see this because even on certain teams, you're gonna have Whimsicotts that will run like a sunny day, just as an extra step to like have a weather deterrent. Because a lot of people don't necessarily want to do weather wars, and they will just immediately like, you know what, change this weather. I don't feel like dealing with it, and then immediately they have to like pivot mods just to like, okay, I need to set something back up, and off of that you can make reads and potentially punish your opponent for it.
No, exactly. I do agree with that, and the weather is definitely going to shape up the metagame, so I can't wait to see how that goes. The next Pokemon that's going to be prevalent in the Tailwind setup is Talonflame, and not only that, it's super strong, and take it away.
Yeah, Talonflame, do love it. It's an OG. It is one of those weird mons because it really doesn't necessarily Oko things, which it should. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the age-old meme is that Amoonguss has more base attack stat than Talonflame, which is a shame and a crime. But priority Gale Wings, while you're at full health, you do get priority on some of your moves like Tailwind and things like that. And it just naturally does have a good speed. So it is something I can see being used because immediately Will-O-Wisp is always amazing. And you can put Sharp Beak on it just to give you that extra boost of power into Grass Mons. And of course, you can use Flare Blitz. There's a Brave Bird. There's a lot of different options here. Especially, like, we used to have a lot of the times where it's like, oh, you lead with your Whimsicott, I'm leading with my Talonflame. And then we just have it out because we both don't want to deal with each other's Tailwind, but we both don't want to deal with each other's damage. So I think you'll see kind of the comeback of a lot of that. The fire typing does help it a little bit more just because you can get really offensive into certain things. So I think these two will definitely fight back and forth on like what they can do and then what type of teams. Both of them can be used on hyper offensive teams and balanced teams, but sustainability and bulk has always been kind of like the thing where it's like, okay, whenever there's Whimsicott, I'm like, I'm gonna use a Talon, and I'm gonna just hit you with some damage and just try to like out sustain you, and I can set up Tailwind as long as I have faster things in the end.
Exactly. And for that reason, we're gonna go into the move set with Gale Wings. Gale Wings is definitely one of the strongest ways to play this Pokemon because you want to get that stat boost on your flying type moves. So you do have Brave Bird, Flare Blitz, Tailwind, and Protect. Other moves, if you want to just make this thing a fast attacker and slap a choice band to it, just do Brave Bird, Flare Blitz, U-turn, and Quick Attack. It's going to be the E-Speed that it only has access to. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure.
Oh, nah, no E-Speed.
Okay. And then we got another Tailwind lead where it has, Brave Bird, Flare Blitz, and Protect. That's basically going to be the way you want to run this mod.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And next up for the Tailwind, we have the GOAT, Corviknight. Corviknight is pretty strong, and just having the steel typing is so amazing here. And it definitely is a bulky Tailwind setup. Let us know what you think about this.
Yeah, Corviknight, I think when we were talking about it, I put it in here just because I remember the days of Corviknight having things like a rocky helmet, being able to deter it, because it can't be intimidated because it just mirrors it bounces back. So this is one of those beautiful things where not only it is slower, but it is bulkier. And the thing about it is, the most important part is it has iron defense, body press. So even if you burn, you can eventually out boost that burn and KO with body press. And it's something that can just sit here. It has the steel coverage, so Iron Head will always be a thing. And then of course, one of the most annoying things is Roost, because eventually it can just sit there for long amounts of time and continuously wear your team down little by little, no matter how long it takes. Because anybody uses Corviknight, they're in it for the long game. So unless you have something that immediately forces it out with a lot of damage, I'm talking about 45% or more damage, it will continue to sit here and wear you down. So I think Corviknight is going to be one of those hidden gems a lot of people may not play in the first initial weeks of the season, because everybody likes to go really offensive and kind of get people out of there at first. But as everything tends to settle in, I think this is one of those mons that's going to be just like, people are going to notice like, wait a minute, nobody's prepped for this and nobody can really like handle it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's very strong, very solid, has Brave Bird, Tailwind, Iron Head, and Protect. It could get body press as well, so there's many ways to run this Pokemon.
I'm definitely thinking eventually this will be something like, because even on into some teams alone, right? Let's say you're running sand. There's one thing you absolutely do not want to see, and that's a Corviknight. Corviknight is not phased by sand at all, so you normally have to have like a Rotom or something like that to deter it. But this can shut down a whole archetype. Oh, Mega Gardevoir type of mons, this shuts that down. Mega Kangaskhan. There's certain mons that just cannot handle or do enough damage to this thing, and it just kind of sits in front of them. So this is a scary like dark horse in the meta right now. Like going into those first initial like global challenge that comes up, because if you run into this and you don't have enough and they clear out your one, maybe 1.5 solutions to it, just forfeit. You will lose.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but overall, another Pokemon we want to talk about that has Tailwind potential, because this was a Generation 4 type of Pokemon that had Tailwind. Back in the day, I remember I used to play that format, and I used this for Tailwind setups in the past, but take it away. What do you think about this?
Okay, be completely honest. I only did this just because there's always somebody who wants to use their favorites and think Gliscor is like one of them. That's the only reason I put it in here. I just want to show some people some love who love Gliscor. I love Gliscor. But when it comes to VGC, he not it. He not it. He can learn Tailwind and all these cool little niche things, but in a 2v2, look at 6, bring 4, he not it, bro. But I just want to give a shout out to the people who love Gliscor, because I love him too in like my regular playthroughs. That's cool, but hey, when it comes to this VGC thing, we out here to be the best that's ever done it, And I hate to break it to you, maybe unless you're Wolf Glick, he ain't him. But I just want to show some love to the Gliscor lovers.
Exactly. And if you want to use it, the most consistent way to do it with the Tailwind ability, I would definitely recommend using the Earthquake, Rock Slide, Tailwind, and Protect variant. And there's not much to say, but it's just here for fan service.
Exactly, bro. Y'all enjoy it, have fun, but don't complain about you not winning. If you're running a glide score, okay? Like, just know that. Just know that we love you, but you're not gonna win with this.
Exactly. And next up, we have the Volcarona with Tailwind. This thing is kind of insane. Also has access to Quiver Dance, and overall, it's just a sweeper. What do you think about this?
This, I think, I've used this out of all the mons we've gone over so far, besides maybe Tyranitar or Incineroar. I've used Volcarona the most. Volcarona is it is a glue mon. Like, the only thing that sucks is just like it's weak to like rock and it's weak to ground and but like there's ways around that. It's amazing. Having a quiver dance set up, having a rage powder set up, like it can be support, having a offensive I can spam fiery dance, having tailwind, there's a multitude of things in formats like this that Volcarona can apply itself to. Just even in past formats, you can look with Terra being able to just run Terra Blast and then have Terra Fairy. Volcarona, I think, is how I see like a hidden gem, even though it's really not, but a lot of people would kind of like gloss over it at first. How I see Corviknight, I see Volcarona even higher because Struggle Bug is amazing to just really kind of shut down your opponent, especially special attack wise. You can have an Intimidator on your team because Double Fire is really, they do two different things, so you can easily run that. And you have Tailwind, so you can, in case it's like, oh, okay, I don't really want to have Whimsicott. I need something a little bulkier I can put a berry on. There's nothing Volcarona really cannot do for you if you know what you need on your team.
Exactly. This thing could be a beast, and it's insane. Overall, you do have the Quiver Dance, Heat Wave, Bug Buzz, and Protect. And just overall, you could definitely mix this and add a Tailwind to make this thing support the rest of your team.
Yeah, literally. There's just it can do a multitude of things. You just have to know what you want out of it, and it can do that. So I'm looking forward to see the comps built with Volcarona support, or maybe a Volcarona sweeping type where it just spams Quiver Dance, and then from there, I mean, really good luck. Fiery Dance over and over, and eventually the Bug Buzzes. And also for those pesky water types, it does get Giga Drain.
Alright, now we're gonna go and talk about the best Mega Pokemon right now, and we're not talking about just adding your fan favorites, we're talking about Pokemon that are gonna be the best, and we're starting off with Mega Gengar himself. Everybody's talking about him, everybody's traumatized about it. Let's go, let's hear why.
I mean, you have Stab Shadow Ball, you have Stab Sludge Bomb, you are one of the premier special attackers, you are one of the fastest, and not just that, you have one of the best abilities ever invented. You get to just immediately trap someone in. There's really no type of application where you can say Gengar is not a top 5 like top 5. Like, it's always going to be in the GOAT conversation when it comes to megas because how offensively gifted it is and what it can enable someone to do. Now, granted, it did lose Encore if I'm not mistaken, which is actually kind of huge. So you can tell the devs know, like, okay, you're a little too strong. So I do like that they've trying to like, hey, we're trying to even it out, but still, the typing offensively is fantastic. You nuke so many things. This thing KOs Mega Meganium 50 times over without even trying. And being that fast, like you can do so much with it. So it's had to be in the top 5 regardless of whatever conversation you want to have.
Definitely one of the most goated Pokemons out there for a Mega Evolution. And then, you do have Shadow Ball, Sludge Bomb, Focus Blast, and Protect. But the more common version that you're probably going to be seeing, which is the best and made this a problem, was Perish Song, Shadow Ball, Disable, Protect. This is going to prevent your opponent's Pokemon from knocking it out, and Perish Song taking out 2 Pokemon in a doubles battle. That's huge. The next Pokemon that I want to talk about is Metagross. Not just any Metagross, we're going to talk about Mega Metagross. This Pokemon has been a menace since it came out for a Mega Evolution. Take it away.
Yeah, Mega Metagross is it's I don't want to just immediately say it's the best Mega, but man, it's hard to really deny what this thing can do offensively. It has all the coverage you need: Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, has Stomping Tantrum, has Earthquake, has Iron Head, and of course, one of the premier things about it, before it megas, it has clear body, so it can't be intimidated. There's so many things it can do. It's got just enough bulk and offensive capabilities, fast enough where it really like, and it also gets Rock Slide. So in case the Charizard Y users want to come through, it's like, okay, yeah, Rock Slide, bro. Like, there's a lot this thing can do for honestly for no reason. It's kind of strong just to be strong, and it's gonna really show itself. There's no mega format where it has not been one of the dominant megas, and there's a reason why. It just there's really nothing it really can't do for you. It's got just enough bulk. I mean, just having a Metagross on the team, you immediately have to think, oh, if this Mega Metagross, I have to do something different. But heck, if you want to just run regular Metagross, you could, because Choice Banded Metagross is nothing to be like to scoff at. So, but Mega wise, like getting the boost, it can do anything. It really can, and it has just enough like bulk where you can Evitt to live like pretty much almost any hit. I've even like gotten to the point where I've been able to like live a Mega Gengar Shadow Ball, which is astronomically difficult. Granted, most Gengar are not running 252 special attack. They don't need that much since they naturally have it. So you have an opportunity to live those and KO back immediately with Stomping Tantrum.
Yeah, nah, it's insane. This Pokemon is pretty strong overall, having, access to Iron Head, Zen Headbutt, Ice Punch, and Protect. You can make this thing really bulky too with Iron Head, Zen Headbutt, and Bullet Punch Protect. So, there's many ways, and then the other moves you mentioned, I do agree with those as well.
Yeah, and I mean, just like the annoying part of like, oh, I potentially just get to flinch you because Iron Head it not only hits hard, you just get to flinch. It's like, dude, like, cut me a break, like, give me some slack, you know. So, I do think this is probably like for me when it comes to the list of like what are the megas I'm going to immediately put in the builder and start building around. This is top 3 for me, and it's not close because I just know what it can do.
Yeah, this thing hits like a truck. But the next Pokemon we're going to talk about also used to be a crazy contender, but is still very respectable in this format. It's Mega Kangaskhan. Take it away with how powerful this thing is.
Yeah, Mega Kangaskhan has been. It was one of the, if not the best Mega before the nerf in, I believe, the end of 2016, I believe, where the second hit from Baby Kang got cut in a little bit. But it's still really, really good. It has just enough bulk. You can have it to kind of live anything. It still does significant amount of damage. Of course, not as much as it used to be, but this is premier balance right here. You can come in, you have Sucker Punch, you have Fake Out, you have any normal double edge. Like Kang double edge is nothing to scoff at. Like that's a lot of damage you have to take. I definitely can see Kang coming back on a lot of balanced teams with like a Sinistra, a Rotom Heat, something else under Trick Room like an Amoonguss. Really just balance and a way to kind of sustain. And it's one of those mons where it stays around long enough to do enough damage where everything else kind of is almost like the Zard effect. Zard does it in big bursts with Heat Wave in the sun, while Kangaskhan does it more slowly, surgically, and methodically, where it's like chipping everything into range, where it's like, okay, cool, this should be enough where the other mons can kind of like can clean up. That's what Kang does. And if you find any way to give it sustain, like a Pollen Puff or any like Lunar Dance, any type of way to heal it, that's when it really becomes an issue because it just like sits there and eventually, even no matter how much you intimidate it, the damage really adds up over time.
Yeah, without a doubt, this Pokemon is super strong, and I don't know, Kangaskhan is kind of the GOAT. And
It's got enough championships to boot and titles to boot. I mean, there was an entire archetype based on this being the mega for it, and it is one of the greatest archetypes ever known in VGC, which is Chalk, and Kang was at the dead center of it.
right. And it gets a lot of stab, normal typing moves such as return. Other moves that you could pair it with is sucker punch, power up punch, and protect. Power up punch giving it double attack.
Yeah, literally just being able to get that extra boost all of a sudden, it's like, oh, that intimidate really didn't phase me. So now I get to continue just doing what I do. And it's just, I do think Kang is going to be one of those that a lot of the older head VGC guys know how to use this. They're going to bring back spreads from back in their heyday, and they're still going to apply today. And they're just going to go in there and be like, yeah, I've been doing this since 2014 type of thing, you know? So I do think it's something, regardless if you're a beginner or even an old head, remember who you are. Kang is Kang for a reason. Kang is the conqueror for a reason. So don't just not use it just because it got a little bit of a nerf. It still can do exactly what it's supposed to do, which is do damage.
If it ain't broke, don't fix.
Literally.
And next up, we're gonna go with the GOAT himself, Dragonite, Mega Dragonite. I was gonna call it Dragonite EX, but
I mean,
we have him here. He's definitely a unique mon.
I'm trying to figure, like, Dragonite is interesting just because we've seen the rise of Dragonite in VGC to an epic proportion in these last coming years with Terra and of course the inner focus not being able to flinch anymore. So it can do a lot of things. Now the Mega is very interesting because it's always been a physical mod, and now with the Mega you can kind of run it in a special way if you want, but I still think the physical is probably still the better variant. So I'm kind of interested to see what it looks like with somebody making a team completely cored around this new Mega, because I'm not sure if it's going to be really that valid or just a regular Dragonite still the way to go. So I put this on here as a speculative because I do think there's enough people who've seen the rise of Dragonite where they're going to find a way to use it. How they're going to use it is what I'm actually very interested in, because it can just be so different and unique. But would you really want to use it as a Mega or keep it as a normal, like, Dragonmon?
No, exactly. I do agree with that. And overall, yeah, it's gonna be mixed attack. You could mainly do all attack or all special, but you could use Dragon Claw, Extreme Speed, Ice Punch, and Protect. That's gonna be one of the best physical variants. Of course, you do have more access to moves, so I'm really curious how this is gonna develop.
Yeah, same here. Look at it, because I know some people are just, they're dead set on using this. So I know they've been in the lab. So I can't wait to see what we get coming out of this champions this first couple weeks of when the game comes out.
Nah, 1000%. But that's gonna conclude the tier list. Not the tier list, but more or less the team cores to help you guys build teams. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Slim, for coming through and dropping your knowledge.
Hi, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on. And it's always a fun having these conversations just because, like, we just get to chop it up about something that we know we love in our hobby, and especially the more competitive, sweaty aspect. So I'm looking forward to what this first day drop will be, and especially this first global challenge that we've seen Pokemon Champions going to have out.
It's gonna be here before you know it, and we'll see you next time.